Hi everyone, welcome back to the 2020 Biz Kickstart event, and we're here with Azriel, who's going to talk to us all about Facebook ads. And one of the things that I am quite happy about is Azriel runs his own agency, so he's not just someone that does ads on a low scale. He helps people, big companies and small companies as well, so he's got a lot of experience with this. So share a bit about yourself, Azriel, and share a bit about how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated college in 2011, and I moved from New York to Israel. I had a friend who had just started a nonprofit here in Israel, and he needed some help doing day-to-day stuff, you know, post on Facebook, post on Twitter, send emails to the email list. And I worked for him for 3.5 years. In 2015, I saw an opportunity to grow what, in 2012, 13, 14, no one really called what I was doing anything. It wasn't called anything back then. But now those are called, email marketing optimization, social media management, Facebook, online advertising. These are all things I did before they had names for those things. And I kind of came to my boss and I said, why don't we do this? There's an opportunity at a much larger scale to do this for bigger businesses. He thought it was a horrible idea. So I left on my own. I started Ratz Media in 2015. I've since managed, I have no idea how many different niches, everything from fishing lures to real estate to SaaS companies, amusement parks, big giant e-commerce companies, online coaches, you name it. I probably run ads for it. At this point, I'm currently managing just about $400,000 a month in client ad on Facebook and Instagram. And that's it. That's me.
So what were the first Facebook ads like? What was the sort of done thing when you first started?
So the first ads I ran were actually for that nonprofit. So the nonprofit was an Israeli organization targeting Americans to support Israel. So what we did was we actually noticed organically, people talk about like the good old days of Facebook. So that's when I started was the good old days of Facebook. We had a Facebook page. I was like number 3 on the page. It got to about 50,000 likes. I have no idea what they're up to now, but it was about 50,000 likes. And every post 5 times a day would reach about 80,000 people. Wow. So we would get more reach per post than the number of likes 5 times every day, 6 days a week. We posted Sunday through Friday. And it was insane. So basically we had a lot of testing that we did on Facebook organic. And then we said from there, what if we took something we already saw that was working organically and push it out to newer people? So what we did was we had come up with a poll. The poll was very simple, which was, does Israel have the right to defend itself? Yes or no? And we actually used a company called FormStack, which is like Wufoo or Typeform, any other regular form builder. But what it did was you answer the question yes or no, and then whichever one you chose, a box appeared that said, to fill out the poll, give us your email address. And by giving us your email, you're signing up to our email newsletter. And when we ran those ads, we were getting about 21 cents per email for 100,000 emails. So we grew we tripled the size of the email list like relatively quickly in just a couple of months. And then what we found was that those people that we had paid 21 cents for through either donations or through e-commerce sales that we had, we had a store selling Israeli products. We had some clients that also use this sort of service. On average, those emails made $1.25 per year for every email we bought. So if you do the math now, it's 2020. So that was 7 years ago. 7 times $1, let's just do $1 is $7, maybe close to $9 with the 25 cents. And we paid 21 cents on average for those emails in 2013 to like 12, 13, 14. And they have made quite a lot of money since then on those emails. That was the first ever campaign. That's when I really realized there was like such potential on Facebook. And when I started going around to people, they all thought I was joking. I was like, you know, why would I want to be among the cat videos and the baby pictures? It was before the Instagram, like pictures of your lunch. It was like before that time. Yeah. But even still, people like did not take the entire enterprise of Facebook advertising seriously. No. So it was a very big struggle early on to convince companies that they all their money was in Google ads. What do I need to be on Facebook for? And I think that has considerably changed over the years. And I'm glad to have been part of that transition. So.
Oh, you must be staring at everything that you're doing now thinking, oh my God, back in the day, it would have cost a hundredth of as much and the results would have been so much better. You always sat there going, can we please go back to 2014 when
no one knew
worked? Like when you could just post content normally and it would actually make a difference. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to bring it up because there's a lot of people now that are like, oh, the algorithm's doing my head in. And the truth is the algorithms like got the consumer at heart, right? That's right. Kind of what, that's what I sort of realized as well, is that the people that want to see your stuff will see it all the time. The people that don't want to see your stuff will never see your stuff. But it isn't that they never see yours. It's that they see the people that they actually want to see.
Right. I think it's like it's an important thing to keep in mind that the whole goal of Facebook is to preserve the users on the platform. Like we could look at a lot of platforms that people got on the site, started using it, and it wasn't sticky. Like even look at AOL. Did you ever have an AOL account?
Mine was, funnily enough, when I was probably 12. So we're going back about 15, 16 years. It was all like MSN. That was the thing when I was like a teenager. It was kind of the MSN Hotmail kind of thing.
Right. So I'm saying there are people. My father has a Juno account still. You know, but what I'm talking about is like Facebook is much stickier of a platform than many platforms before it. Why are people not still on MySpace? Why are people not still on Tumblr? You know, I mean, Vine closed, so bad example, but people moved off Vine before it closed. People moved off, Google Plus. I'm not sure if anyone ever really used Google Plus, but people moved off Google Plus. People moved off Snapchat now. So platforms come and go, but here we are, and I've been on Facebook since 2007. And I don't know how long you've been on Facebook for, but it's a very sticky platform. And there's a reason for that, because they care so much about their users that they will transform the platform however it needs to be at their loss financially.
Okay.
To make sure that users stay on the platform, because what do they care about making an extra buck, quarter one of 2016, if by 2020, no one's left on Facebook? They're right now facing probably one of their biggest competitors ever, TikTok, which came out of nowhere a year ago. And the question is, how are they either going to drive it into the ground, because it's the only way Facebook and Instagram survives, or figure out how to stay competitive to keep people on the platform, as so many people are happy to try new things, while Facebook's just trying to stay around. So yes, it's true. You as the business don't have as much privilege of getting in front of every user, but at least they're still here on Facebook for you to spend money on. Because imagine if they were on a platform that you couldn't spend money on to reach them. You just lost them totally, and you got to go back to your billboards and your mail order things,
Yeah. I think that to a certain extent as well, if you think about how things are moving, it's almost like, there's half a chance they could be hanging around, so then nothing comes up that replaces them. Because if you think about if LinkedIn goes away, if Facebook goes away, if Instagram goes away and TikTok takes off, the next platform, for instance, Facebook is not a hell of a lot different, or wasn't a hell of a lot different to what MySpace was. Right. It was just more popular, so it stuck around. Right. Or, I don't know, maybe MySpace just didn't change, so everyone got bored, maybe. Mm-hmm. So I think if you think about, to a certain extent, Facebook will still be around as long as it doesn't go away, because
Right.
you can't write stuff on TikTok. People very rarely hang around long enough on Instagram to read long posts. So it is sort of it's, for me, it's a different format.
Right.
It's a different type of content.
I mean, I think the big win for Facebook was their willingness to put a lot of energy into mobile when mobile was very, very early. And platforms like Pinterest didn't do that. It took them much longer to get on mobile, and they suffered greatly during, the boom. Who doesn't own a cell phone? Who over the age of 15 doesn't own a cell phone? But you talk about 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, that was not a true statement. So, companies died if they didn't do it, but they didn't know that they had to do it until it was too late.
Yeah.
And Facebook took mobile very seriously, as they are now taking AR and VR very seriously, long before the consumers actually using those platforms.
Yeah, of course. I feel like in some ways, it's a good thing, because social media, although it is a business, as a way it's set up, right? Facebook's a business.
It is a business. I got some stocks in it.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with other businesses, if that makes sense. Like, if you're a business that runs your business and uses Facebook, it's not in your best interest, it's in the user's best interest.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with your ability. It's got nothing to do with your business, if that makes sense. It's all about what the people using the platform want, which is where everyone's now moving towards sort of, we won't get anywhere without paying. We won't get anywhere without running ads these days, because you can post things and it'll go to your sort of people that engage with you, the people that like your stuff will see more of your stuff. That's kind of how I've observed it with my just general content kind of thing. But the ads are always going to do much better, just because, well, you're paying for it, I suppose.
That's the hope. Hopefully your ads do better.
That's a very interesting point, actually, because, how often do people run ads that don't work, but then blame the ads?
All of the times. All of the times that people run ads that they don't work, they probably blame the platform.
So are there any key things that we could avoid then? Because I've been guilty of running ads that haven't worked, but I've gone, I'm just terrible at running ads. Like, I'm not an ads person. I don't walk on and go, Facebook's doing my head in. It's awful. The ads don't work. Sometimes you have just got to sit there and go, it's just me. So what can we avoid? So
I would say, it's actually interesting, because I speak every year social media marketing world, and my speech last year was this topic that I'm about to speak about. So the way I see Facebook ads or any online advertising is I see it in 3 parts. Part 1 is who you're reaching. Part 2 is what the ad is that they're seeing. And part 3 is the funnel they're going through. And I call that the who, how, and what. The who is the audience, the what is the ad, and the how is the funnel. And what I found is that if you don't come to the table day one of trying to run Facebook ads, knowing at least 2 of those things, either how and what, or I'm not going to say all the examples, but 2 of the 3 things, you're likely going to waste a crazy amount of money. So a good example of this is I have a potential client. I spoke to them on Thursday. One of the things I like to do before ever potentially running ads for clients is basically having them give me access to their ad account. I do like a sort of quick audit on my time, go through what ads they've run in the past, and see if there's anything that I would either do differently or potential that they've never tested before. So this company, before I saw the ad account, I had a conversation with them and I said, in my mind, this is the sort of funnel I would want to create to start with in testing. So let's just say it's a paid app, right? So step 1 would be awareness for the app. Step 2 would be download the app. Step 3 would be pay for the app, right? Second version of that would be awareness. Stage 2 would be pay upfront at a much lower price because, the App Store takes a considerable percentage of the ad spend of the revenue per month. And then step 3 would be now they've already purchased it, get them to use and enjoy it so that they come back next year and pay again. Right? That was the funnel. Then they gave me access to the ad account. What I found was that the person who had run ads used that exact funnel. That was exactly the funnel they tried to do. It failed miserably. They wasted a ton of money and it didn't work. So I said, what I find interesting here in the ad account is that in theory, this is what you think would work. The problem was that they never took the time to actually prove that it worked before spending $35,000 of the client's money first. So they had an assumed funnel that they thought would work, but they just tested on cold audiences and then turned around and said, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, we're done. So what I suggested to start, and hopefully this potential client will agree and do this, is to step 1, to focus on what I call the 5 core audiences: email list, website visitors, Facebook and Instagram engagement, just count that as 1, Facebook page likes, and then it depends. This 5th one is different for every person. For them specifically, app installers, because it's an app, right? So those are the 5 audiences. Another potential for that 5th one is people who are friends of yours on Facebook. So for coaches, to target your friends on Facebook. A lot of coaches, they friend people who are their potential clients. So why not reach those people with ads? It is a possible thing to do. Just very quickly as a side point, don't really want to get distracted on the point, but very quick side point. There is an ability currently, might go away, but currently on Facebook to target friends of Facebook page likes. So if you create a Facebook page, a private Facebook page that you never use, and you like that page, and then you target all the friends of the people that like that page, but you're the only person that liked the page. So you're now targeting your friends. It's possible. It's worked. I tested it a couple of months ago for a few clients. The ad spent money, so I assume that it's reaching your friends, and it is a possible targeted audience. Okay, back to the conversation here. So this is their 5 audiences. Again, website visitors, email subscribers, Facebook, Instagram, page engagement, Facebook page likes, app installers. Take those people. Why are they important? They are the existing warm audience. They already know the company. It's going to, in theory, take a lot less to convince them to pay than someone who's never heard of the company. So what I want to do is I want to figure out, what do I need to show these 5 audiences of people to get them to buy? Test a whole bunch of ads, videos, carousel ads, slideshows, images, different landing pages. Do I send them straight to the app? Do I send them to a landing page? What do I have to do to get them to buy consistently so that I see it's working? And only after I've proven out that funnel with high quality people can I now take that funnel and show it to colder audiences. So that's exactly what I mean when I say you need to have 2 of the 3, because we already have the product. We have the yearly subscription for a considerable discount is the what. It is what we're trying to sell. Then we have the who. You could either target totally cold audiences, but then you're left in the dark. Well, who's the right audience? Do I target by, app installers of paid apps? Do I target based on competition? Do I target based on lookalike audiences? How do I start with cold audiences? Well, I don't know unless I have a warm audience to start with. And then the last thing, which is the funnel, which is, again, they don't know, they have never proved out a working funnel. In this situation, they were coming to Facebook with just 1 of the 3 things. They knew they wanted people to buy this paid app, but they didn't know who to target, and they didn't know what funnel to show them. So my suggestion was, start with your warm audiences first, prove out the funnel. So now you're not coming with 1, you're coming with the funnel, and you're coming with the what it is you're trying to sell. Now you can start targeting new audiences. Now you could look at your data and try to figure out how to optimize what's the best type of person to reach, all that fun stuff. But until you've done the work to prove out the funnel, you're never going to successfully scale the ads on this business. So that's, to me, is the most important part of Facebook ads, is to come with as much knowledge before you ever run an ad. So some people come to me and say, well, what happens if I don't have a warm audience? So my answer is, someone always has your warm audience. And who is that person? It's very dependent. Well, let's say you're I just put it up there. You're a tripod, trying to sell a tripod, right? Trying to sell a tripod. So you could either try by starting to target totally cold audiences on Facebook. Good luck to you. Maybe you'll get a sale. Or you could say, who already has a warm audience of people that would be interested in buying my tripod? And you could go to that person and you can say, can we make a collab? Can I pay you for ad space? Can you send my product out in your email? Can you give me a shout out on Twitter? Like, there are plenty of ways for you to collaborate the person. And guess what? It is worth paying them, because if you're going to pay Facebook, it's worth paying this guy because he's got your warm audience. He has your warm audience. So what I tell people to do is find someone that already has your warm audience, pay them, or make an affiliate program or something with them to let them make money through you. Then build your audience off the back of that data you're going to get from the person that you paid money for. So if they're sending traffic to the page, those people, even the non-buyers, are high quality traffic. That is not true on Facebook. If you're targeting cold audiences and the 97%, if you're lucky, you're assuming a 3% conversion rate, which is unlikely, but those 97%, they might not be high quality audiences. You have not proven out that audience until you see that it's bringing in sales. That lookalike audience might be horrible for you. So not only are you doing yourself a disservice of spending money to the wrong audience, but you're actually building audiences that are low quality people on your Facebook account, which will only lead you to reach additional low quality people. But that's not true if you're reaching, some big photographer with a huge photography following. You're going to be reaching an audience of people that are interested in your product. And now all those people that come to your site, you're building a high quality, website visitor list. When you create a lookalike to that audience, it's going to be fantastic. Or even the retargeting of those website visitors. But if you start on Facebook with no warm audience, you are destined to waste a lot of money and fail miserably.
When you mentioned prove the funnel or prove the ad or prove the, so like testing it out to a certain degree. Yeah. Do you have any best practices for that? Because there'll be people out there that go, oh, so will a $5 be enough for a day? Or like, what's the general, because someone might half prove it. And then when we take it out there, it doesn't work. Maybe they don't go all in on the whole testing concept because they want to hold back. So then they've got extra to spend when they explode it. Like, what's the general rule of thumb with that?
So step one is really dependent on a lot of things. So if you're paying someone to run your ads, so when people hire me, I tell them, you should at least be spending $150 to $250 a day, comes out to about $5,000, somewhere around that number, in ad spend to successfully test. Why? Slower than that will take testing too long. Like, that's already an 8-week testing period, right? So we're talking about, like, if you're spending $2,000 a month, we're going to need 4 months. I don't even know how, like, some insane amount of time just for testing, right? If you spend too much too quickly, then you don't have enough time to digest the information. So if we're spending $500 a day, it's not going to teach us enough stuff fast enough, and we're going to have spent all of your budget relatively quickly, and it won't be enough time to process the data. So when you're paying someone to do it, you want to kind of be in that range, somewhere in that range. When you're not paying someone to do it, you got all the time in the world, right? So I tell people, if you're doing nothing else, you should be spending $5 to $10 a day. And I was at an event yesterday, small like networking event with like 25, 30 people. And this guy had just started a very interesting business, drop shipping ceiling fans. You never know these days. So he drop ships ceiling fans. And he was doing so well that he actually started going directly to manufacturers. And now he's selling his own ceiling fan. He started his own ceiling fan brand. Which is how well he's doing. And he kind of asked me, like, what should I do on Facebook? I said, well, how are your Google ads doing? He said, I spend about $700 a month, going very well so far. I said, fantastic. What's your conversion rate? He's like, just about 1.5% to 2% conversion, which is fine for cold audiences on Google search. no retargeting, no email follow-up, no anything is set up. He's converting 1% to 2%. So I said, well, he has his Facebook pixel set up. What if he just spent $2, $3 a day, $5 a day, talking to all of that traffic from Google and running ads to them to come back to the site and buy again? Could he get another 1%? But in a whole month, they'll spend $100, right? A whole month, they'll spend $200, and that will be enough to kind of get enough data and money to make it a worthwhile endeavor to try to push Facebook ads more. But your question really is, what does the testing period look like?
Yeah.
Right. So the way I see it, it's a 4-stage process, which is tweaked a little bit, but I've been pretty consistent about this since 2016. And I actually gave a speech in 2016 on this topic. And it's 4 stages. Step 1 is the cost per impression, CPM. So Facebook has directly in Ad Manager, you could see what is the cost per 1,000 impressions. Now, just so you understand how Facebook works, it's a little different than Google. Google is an auction. So you pay per click. You're willing to pay $5. I'm willing to pay $8. Facebook will put me above you. And if I get the click, I pay $5.02. I mean, whatever, something like that. I just a bit above your bid. I bid and win, and then I get the click, and everyone's happy. I won because I paid more. Facebook doesn't really work. It could work that way. You could set your ads up that way, but the majority of the way it works is Facebook looks at all of the advertisers targeting any one person. Then it filters the highest quality ad and page that's running ads. And then it basically gives that ad placement to what they believe is the highest quality ad for that user, and then charges them based on competition to that person. So obviously, people in America are way more than people in Japan. Bad example. People in Italy. Europe is cheaper than America. Canada is cheaper than America. New York, Las Vegas, and California are the most expensive parts in America because they have the highest competition. So just like a basic understanding of Facebook ad placement, like the costs, but essentially you are charged by impression. Your ad is charged by impression. And what you want to do, obviously, is get the lowest cost per impression, because it means that according to Facebook, your quality is the highest or among the highest of the competition also targeting that same audience. So your first stage is just to see, is my cost per impression in a range I'm okay with? Now, people ask me all the time, what's the metric? What's the number I'm looking for? And the answer is you have no idea until you compete against yourself. You want to run enough ads just to have benchmarks, right? Oh, my CPMs are normally $12. Great. When I get $11.50 or I get $9, I should be very happy with those numbers because they're beating my current average CPM. So that's stage one, is just, is my CPM in the range of where I expect it to be? And if not, should I fix something? And the thing that you should fix there is either the target audience or the ad they're seeing. That's the only thing you can switch, right? If either target someone new or try a different ad to that same audience. So that's stage one, is the CPM. Stage two is CPC, cost per click, right? Because today, you cannot buy things, kind of can, Instagram shopping a little bit. Most of the time, you want to send someone to your website to actually fulfill the conversion, whether that's collecting the email address, whether that's the purchase, whether that's watching your webinar, something. You want the person off of Facebook. So if the person is not clicking from your ad, they're never going to convert. So if you're not moving that person, that impression to a click, something is wrong and needs to be fixed.
Right,
what is it that
from seeing it to
clicking on it? On it. And I will include the fact that I'm well aware that there's a thing called lead ads, and you can collect leads on Facebook. I know it exists. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've known the quality to be very low, but I will mention that you can still look at CPC of just what's the cost to get the lead ad to show up. So this still works even for lead ads. So just a note there. So now you have to get your people who you're reaching to actually get to click. So if you've done the work on the CPM stage and you found the better audience and you found the better ad to show them. What can I tweak at this stage to get higher clicks? And the answer is just more persuasive copy. And sometimes that's even as simple as click here to learn more. I've seen just adding the URL directly into the post text to be very effective on Facebook. Instagram, not so much. You can't click on the link. But I found that, on Facebook, to include the actual URL in the post is very helpful in getting people to click. So things like that can be more persuasive, or just write better copy, really, is the option there. Or what some people do is actually write on the image of the ad, it says click below with a little arrow or the person pointing or something like that, to get them to click on the button. So that's stage 2 is CPC. Stage 3 is time on site. So obviously everyone on earth has Google Analytics set up on their website, because we're in 2020. People have figured it out by now. I'm just going to assume this and move on to the next thing. Google Analytics will show you how long a person's on your site for. So the first thing you want to know is, how long should a person be on your page for? Well, how long is your page? If your page is 3 sentences and a form, they'll probably won't spend more than a minute on your page, right? There's nothing to do on your page. If your page is a 12, page long, like thesis statement with videos and testimonials, then 7 minutes is a good amount of time on your page, right?
Yeah, easy.
So the question first is, what number am I shooting for? And it's very dependent on the page and what the conversion is and all that stuff. But you don't want people spending too long, and you don't want people spending too short. Most of the time, the problem is too short. So if you're getting the impression and you're getting the click and the person's finally getting to your website, and then the time on site is 4 seconds long, again, something is wrong. So at this stage, what can you fix? So again, assuming the problem is short time on site, usually the reason is there's some sort of disconnect between the ad they clicked on and the page they got to. Many times this has to do with the pop-up, right? Like you're on a page, you get a pop-up, like, I don't know what's going on, I just get off the page, and they'll move off. Which is why I think you're probably better off with like an exit pop-up from an ad, or just disabling ad pop-ups on ad landing pages. Might be something worthwhile, but many times this will happen where you'll offer something and then they'll get to the page and it won't be exactly the same wording. Like even something as simple as like, I have an ebook for a workshop or something, and I call it one thing on the ad and I call it a different thing on the landing page. And that could be because of whatever rules, Facebook rejecting your ads or something. For example, you're not going to use the term like make lots of money guaranteed on Facebook, because the ad will get rejected. Yeah. But you could, in theory, I don't know why you would, in theory, use that sort of text on your landing page because it's a more persuasive and converting text. Maybe. So if that's true, you want to include that text, but it doesn't match up with the text from the ad. So it could happen that people see the ad, get to the landing page, and are confused as to what the connection is between page one, ad one, and page one. So to fix that, you want to make sure there's a strong congruency from the ad to the landing page. And this could be as easy as matching the image of the ad to the landing page. That could be as easy as matching the headline from the landing page to the ad to the landing page. Stuff like that. Even the colors that you're using should look the same, so that the feel and that'll keep people on the page longer, because they'll be like, yeah, I know why I'm here. I clicked on that ad. That's what I wanted. I'm here. This is what they're giving me. And that's stage 3. The final stage is conversion rate, right? Because all of this doesn't matter unless you're actually converting. So you want to make sure that the person's getting to the page and actually filling it out. So the person's successfully spent the time on the site, the 30 seconds on the quick lead page, or the 7 minutes on the long sales page, but they're not actually converting. So what's the thing you could fix now? Almost always has to do with just 2 things. Number 1 is the offer itself. Right? A lot of times people give really low quality coupons. Here's 3% off. Woo, 3% off. So no one cares about your 3% off coupon. You got to try different things. Maybe change the name of the webinar. Change what it is you're offering. Give them free shipping instead of a discount code. Give them a bundle instead of whatever that might be. There's plenty of offers to test in the world. They exist. Lots of books I could suggest people read about how to better, create offers. And the second one is actually the form that you're asking them to fill out. A great example of a client of mine that we're hoping to fix now, which is on their existing landing page, we want someone to create a user. So they've never heard of this company before, We want them to create a user for the site. And as part of the user, let's say like user login setup on the website, they need to put a credit card number in. And it's deterring a lot of people from signing up because I'm not ready to pay for the thing. I hope to eventually pay for this product, but today I just want to create a username. So a lot of people are dropping off at that payment stage because they're not ready to put the credit card in. So that's exactly the sort of thing you need to worry about. Is your landing page causing you to decrease the conversion rate? And so now our hope is it's not so easy because it's a SaaS product and you got to like change all the back end, all this stuff. But we're hoping to essentially move the stage of payment just one step further. So they've successfully created a user and then have them give their credit card number late at a separate time. They can, and every time they come back, they've already done this step of creating a user, which currently doesn't happen on the web application. So those are really the things you can do all along the funnel. How much that costs is totally dependent on the cost of the product. I want to add, so this is that I just said, all of that is exactly the same thing I've always said, literally since 2016 when I created that speech on that topic. The one thing I want to change here is that with Facebook events, you can track every stage of the funnel between the time they land on the page until they actually purchase. So if you look at a very basic general e-commerce site, a very basic e-commerce site is in a few stages. Step one is view content, is actually when they get to the product page, is the view content event. Stage two is add to cart. Stage three is initiate checkout. Stage four, sometimes payment info. And stage five is purchase, right? So all of those 5 stages are things that are easily trackable in your ad manager. So if you successfully got the cost per impression down to where you want it to be, you got the cost per click to in the range you want it to be, you got the time on site high up, they're actually spending time on the site, conversion, stage 4, has to do with all of the things I just mentioned, all 4 or 5 of these stages. View content, initiate checkout, I skipped one, add to cart, initiate checkout, payment method, and purchase. You want to look at each of those stages. Is any one of my ads doing a better job of successfully moving people through stage 3 or stage 4 better than any other ad? And do I need a follow-up ad for people that dropped off anywhere in those stages? So that's really what the whole testing period looks like. Start with an ad targeting an audience you have, see what the cost per impression is, try to drop the cost per impression, try to decrease the cost per click, get them to move onto your site, get them to spend time on your site, tweak the landing page to get them to spend longer, be more engaged, convince them better, then get them to actually fill out the lead form, get them back to the site, maybe with another ad or an email or something, to come check out the product, move through this funnel, see what happens, tweak every stage along the way. And because you have the power of this immense amount of data between Facebook and Google Analytics and all this tracking you're doing, you can actually see every person you're targeting, every ad you're using, every landing page you're sending traffic to, which ones are converting the best and which ones have the highest potential of scale. And that's what this testing period looks like.
Right, so that's probably why you mentioned that it takes about 8 weeks as well. Because when you said that, I was thinking, what, 8 weeks? And then when you sort of break it down, it's like, well, it depends on what you're tweaking, right? Depends on what, because your job would be, I imagine, tweaking the ads.
Correct.
But the company's job or business's job is to tweak everything after they've clicked, right? Right.
Well, so that's why a lot of the work that I do is actually consulting on that side of making sure all of it's working. So just very quickly, the 8 weeks is broken into 4 sections. Section 1 is the audience that you're targeting. Section 2 is the ad that they're seeing. Section 3 is the funnel that they're going through. And then section 4 is scale. What's the scalability after I've done all that work? Now that I know which audiences work, well, how big are those audiences? Do they have 1,000 people or do they have 22 million people, right? So if the audience is very small, there might not be very much scalability. So then you have to ask yourself another question. If this specific ad is working, what is a different audience I could talk to, or what is an audience I could talk to in order to get them prepared to get into this audience to then be retargeted with this working ad. Right. And that's what the whole system is. It's focus. One is, who are the people I can talk to successfully? Step 2 is, what ads are the ones that are most successful in driving them to conversion? Step 3 is the funnel to get them all these things we just talked about, the add to cart, initiate checkout, purchase, all that stuff. And then step 4 is, what is the greatest thing I could do on Facebook now that I know what I'm working with? Can I be spending $100,000 a month and successfully scaling my business?
Yeah, it all makes sense, really. When you mentioned the budget as well, that might scare a handful of people off until, I mean, from our previous conversations on Facebook ads, is you're probably running like 10 or 20 ads at the same time, picking the ones that work.
Exactly.
You have to spend money on them, all of them, right?
Right, exactly.
To figure out which one works. So yeah, there's a whole heap of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. One of the things that I did want to mention, this is for people that, you know, are like, okay, I'm decent at Facebook ads, but how do I get the whole thing easier? Get the cost per impression down, get the cost per click down, you know, all those things. The idea is you want the numbers to go down as much as possible. Is it just a more specific audience, or is there a bit more to it?
Well, more specific audience doesn't mean cheaper audience. In many cases, it actually means a more expensive audience, right? If I specifically take a list of 1,000 people, I might pay way more for that audience impression-wise than I would a lookalike audience with 2.4 million people in it. So sometimes it's the audience, sometimes it's the image you're testing, and sometimes it's the text on the ad itself that you're testing, right? Like I've noticed, did I mention this? Yeah. I mentioned this earlier, adding the URL in the post text. Many times that drives the cost per click down. Right. So you just have to test enough things. Like there's just so much to test. And you just have to be testing enough things to actually find the one that works, which is actually a sad story from a client this past month. We did like an insane November, as most companies do. We generated $980,000 in November. And then December, it slows down. It's how the world works. People are moving away.
No, I'd be gutted. 980. I'd be staring at it going, so close to $1 million.
They were, it was actually it was like 980,900. So it was very upsetting. We were like 18,000. We were like one day of business more in November would have put us over $1 million. But then they had a slower December. So in order to pick up December, we tested a crazy amount of different things. Things like, when you set up, this is sort of new, but when you set up your objective on your Facebook ad campaign, many of those words might not have made sense for many people listening, but just to clarify. So you set up a campaign on Facebook, which is basically the high level, what do I want to accomplish? And they give you about a dozen different options. They have like link clicks, app installs, they have engagement or brand awareness or video views, stuff like that. And the option I almost exclusively use is conversion, because what I found is the quality of the people you're reaching are higher. But then within conversion, they let you optimize for a certain event. So usually it's set to what is called lowest cost. So they're looking for the lowest cost for you. But what I found for a few of my clients is actually changing that to what is called minimum ROAS, which stands for return on ad spend. I said it very fast. ROAS, return on ad spend. And I actually found that by switching up the optimization to that, while the cost per purchase might be a little more, they tend to find people that spend more per purchase. Now, why am I talking about this? Because what we did was we had been running minimum ROAS for all of July, August, September, October, November, and it was working. And then we saw this dip in December, and we said, what could we test differently on Facebook in order to boost our December numbers? And we tested. There's one called target cost. It basically tells Facebook, I don't care about the lowest cost, but I want my purchases to be around $10 to $15. You can actually set a target cost. You can set a maximum bid per purchase. All of these things are options. So we tried testing all these different things, and all of them successfully did not work. one after the next, every one of those things. So we turned around in December and we had like, we're talking about after 5 months of testing and what worked, we said, well, it's not, these things are not working in December. Let's try something new. And every new thing did not work. Every single new thing. And now we're sitting here in January, we're back to our 5.8 times return on ad spend. And what worked? The thing that always worked. That's what worked. The same thing, return minimum ROAS set to 4.5. We're sitting on a very, very nice return right now. But in December, we tested all of these new things. It cost a lot of money to test, like a lot. I think that client spent something like $35,000 in testing in December because we really wanted, I think it's, $28,000 was the number, $28,000 to find out what worked. And the answer was none of those things, not a single one of those things. But they needed to go through that testing period to find out if there's a better way than what we were testing. And the answer was no. We had figured it out before. We didn't even know. It was, in fact, the best one. So that's just part of what happens. And it could happen month 3. It could happen month 15 of your ad management. It happens all the time, especially with seasonality. Some of my businesses some of my clients, they're only open summertime. It's an outdoor theme park. They're closed right now, January, February, most of March. They were closed most of December. They're really only open March, April, May, June, July, August are their big seasons. And then they're basically only open weekends for the rest of the year. So seasonality changes. If it rains that day, they have lower purchasers, even though they're not coming that day. All of those things affect your Facebook ads. They affect your results. They affect your cash flow. They affect your profits. And these are all things that need to be considered when running your ads. Because if you leave anything out, you turn around and you say, we just spent $28,000 on testing and none of it worked. And we should have just said, this month is just not going to work out. We should just hold off for the month. That's what we should have done in retrospect. Would have been a better idea in December. But we were concerned about the issue of the cash flow that also needed to be part of the equation, that we did sort of need a bit more money in the bank to keep that money, to keep the lights on in the business. And that's cash flow is an important part of every business. And I learned a lot from my clients as a business owner, and that are not Facebook ad related. And those things are just part of the great big world of entrepreneurship. So
there's just two points there that I think are quite important just to reiterate, really. The first one being that we test to see if there's a better way. Well, that doesn't mean that there is. So you mentioned that they had to go through all that, not like to spend the money for no reason. Their plan was to try and find something that was better with it in December. Right. And as you said, sometimes you can test and realize that, hey, none of it works. but then it was like, well, it's December, so it's like a family time. There's Christmas, there's New Year. Some people are on holiday, some people are still working. It depends on what their audience is, I imagine, right? Right. So there's also outside factors that people need to think about, and people need to realize that, you are running ads, but you're running ads to people. Right. Also, people have lives, different priorities. You mentioned seasonality with the
theme park.
Theme park, there we go. So sometimes it can be hard. I'm sure you have your moments as well, where you sit there doing ads and thinking, hang on, these are all people that we're running these ads to, and it's summer holidays and everyone's on holiday or doing something with family, or it's difficult to realize that the people that you're trying to sell to have got lives as well.
They're not buying my product. What is this? What are they doing?
Why am I selling bikini in December? It's just not. Why isn't it working? Yeah. It's December and it's freezing in most countries, and people don't really want to go to the beach wearing bikinis in December. So you are going to make less sales. Nothing to do with the ad, which you had to find out the hard way. But sometimes it's got nothing to do with the ad. It could be just outside forces,
Mm-hmm. So, and I like to note there, earlier we mentioned the funnel, like how the best way to create a funnel. A lot of companies, I would say specifically business coaches I speak to, the first thing they do wrong on Facebook is that they tend to change up their existing funnel because they see how everyone else does it on Facebook. Right. So how does every other coach do it? Well, I give you You give me your email. I give you a webinar. I pitch you the webinar. I retarget you on Facebook. I get you my email list. I send my email. Like it's a, you've seen this, I'm sure, a bajillion times. So a lot of people, they try to change up their existing funnel to fit that. And they also say, like, I want my Facebook ads to do the work for me so that I don't have to do the work. And a lot of times they usually give up on Facebook ads because it doesn't work. And the reason is because they ditched the funnel that worked for them. So you mentioned people are, the things you're targeting, the money you're spending on Facebook is reaching actual people. So imagine, for example, you're getting an ad for a coach trying to get $1,000 from you or $5,000 from you. And you say, well, I really like that girl or guy. I think they're really fantastic. And this even might be something that I want to learn, but I'm not really prepared to put my credit card information in to a computer and charge it $5,000 because that's not the mindset I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. But most of these coaches built their entire businesses by sales calls. They scheduled a call, they got on the phone, they pitched the person for 45 minutes, whatever it is, they sold it at the end, and they got the credit card on the phone. Now, all of a sudden, they're spending money on Facebook. They're too good for sales calls, and they see their numbers plummet into the ground.
They're too good for sales calls. That's tickled me. That's fun. Yeah, I completely agree with you massively because, like, I've run webinars, I do events like this. I do all kinds of stuff regarding the coaching world. Part of the problem is depending on, like, the people that I work with, right, they're not completely naive to the fact that you're probably going to pitch them at the end of a webinar, right? So, so like they're watching the webinar thinking, here it comes. Like, they're sat there watching it going, I'm going to get off the webinar just when they start mentioning the pitch so that I don't have to put up with it anymore. That's what people are like. Unless they already know they want it, right. You're very, very, very unlikely to convince them. Otherwise, I think we're in a world now whereby like the ads are fine, ads work, but I think getting a direct sale as a result of the ad, like one ad, right? We're not talking retargeting or any of those things. It's going to be a rarity. Like you're talking, it just doesn't happen anymore. People just don't do it. But then you probably sat there thinking, no, but if I target friends of people that like my page and I sort of run the ad, and then there's a retargeting ad for people that watch the webinar but click off when I start to pitch, like that might work better, and it probably would work better, which is why you're like, okay, hundreds of pounds a day for the ads because we're spending it on one ad, the retargeting ad, this retargeting ad, this retargeting ad, this sort of back end thing, this back end thing, this, and it's a weird situation to be in when you're behind the scenes of all these companies going, yeah, but it's not just the one ad though. They run like 12, and only one of them actually sells.
Right. That's it. You nailed it.
It's only because I see it all the time. The problem that I'm sure you, right the way back to the beginning of this talk, was back in my day, we could put a post out and get hundreds of thousands of people see it that probably had no idea that it was an ad. They probably just thought it was another post.
Right.
And the problem is people we're not like stupid anymore. We understand what's going on.
I mean, I still see a lot of the same tactics working years later, which is actually why I find the best books I read are psychology books on, like, I'm reading, do I have this book with me here? No. The book Influence. And it's just like about very weird human behaviors that still are around. They still work. So if you understand human psychology, I think it's a very big part of ads. I'm lucky that I have a degree in math, so I have a very strong, like, logic background. Yeah. So on top, like, layer that with psychology, layer that with marketing. That's really the attributes necessary for Facebook ads. And there's always a lot of work. I find it almost like humorous when you say there are 12 ads running when normally I have like 900 ads running at a time. Hundreds of ads running against each other. I literally, not exaggerating, created over 1,200 ads for one client yesterday on top of their 30 other already running campaigns. So you could imagine just like how many ads I run at a time. I'm probably today active right now, like in the thousands of active ads running for clients. And there's always something to do. There's always another thing you could test. There's always another audience you're not talking to. And you just have to keep, I find experience in this, on top of all the stuff you need to know, experience is a very important factor in Facebook ads. And, even if you knew everything you had to know, you will still be surprised all the time. I think for the first 18 months of running Facebook ads, you'll probably just be shocked every day. Like, why is this not working? Why is this not running? Well, why didn't it spend any of my money? Why is my pixel broken again? What happened here? Like, just all these things happening. And Facebook, Facebook does an excellent job. I would say as a business, Facebook does an excellent job of making ads look so easy. And for a long time, that was a big struggle of mine when I had started in 2015, 16, is that Facebook does almost a disservice to business owners of making it look so easy. So why should I pay someone to manage ads if ads look so easy to do? What are you doing? Like, one person even was watching me make ads. He's like, people pay you for this? I'm like, do you know how complicated what it is you're watching? You have any idea what it is I'm doing?
And then you're probably sat there going, okay, you've got 12 ideas for the ads, but then we need to test 20 things within those 12 things. And then
I have 9 audiences I need to test to.
And then we've got a different audiences with different, they might read different magazines, or they might, and they just sat there like, easy. That doesn't make it simple. Proper funny. Love it. Well, if people wanted to learn more about yourself, and where can people find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I surprisingly spend lots of time on Facebook. So if you message me on my Facebook profile, unfortunately, I tend to not use my Facebook page so much today, but I have just about like 1,000+ videos on there of me talking sort of like this about Facebook, entrepreneurship, business, marketing, psychology, books that I've read, stuff like that. I would tell you, if you're looking to learn more about Facebook ads, I have a course that's free. I am in works right now with Fiverr to actually make a course on their platform, but we're hoping for March. We'll see, March, April. But today, my existing Facebook ads course is free at course.ratzpackmedia.com. I could put it maybe on the Facebook post somewhere. And the code is knowledge, kind of like that throwback to Ty Lopez and his garage. That is the reason why I use that coupon code.
Oh, is it?
See, it is 100%. It was actually originally the coupon code was with an A, it's with knowledge, but people kept spelling it wrong. So I just switched it to knowledge. And so course.ratzpackmedia.com. and use the coupon. Don't put your credit card number in because it will charge you. It will charge you for the course. Put just the coupon code in. It will be free, and enjoy my voice for 4.5 hours. So that I think a lot of people have told me that it really helped them better understand the psychology of Facebook ads. And even though it was recorded in 2017, most of the strategies are still ones I use today for clients. And while Power Editor is no more, unfortunately, most of the back end looks basically the same since it did back then, with a few, facial tweaks here and there. I still think it is an incredible course and very worth the 3.5 to 4 hours it will take you to watch through it. And that's what I got for you.
All right. Well, it's been great to chat as always.
Absolutely.
It's been great to have you on. Make sure you check out the course if it's something that you want to do, those of you that are tuning in. And I look forward to chatting to you again soon, Azriel. It's been great.
Absolutely. Have a good one.